What is packing with you, YouTube? KHTV back with another video, and we rocking the Staples Green Bay hat today, representing for Jordan Love. Shout out to all of the subscribers out there, and this camera. And let's get into this. It's the G Spot, man. Where we put together some underdog player prop picks for this game, and we break down this game against the Saints coming into Lambeau with an undefeated record. And somehow, some way, we're gonna have to change this whole thing around. But let's get into these prop picks, and I can tell you right now, underdog is being very disrespectful to the Packers. Very disrespectful to the Packers. I mean, the only offensive players that they have prop picks on is just Jordan Love, the kicker, and Luke Musgrave. Now, things can change and be updated leading up to the game, where we'll probably see Tavion Wicks and Romeo Doubs and Reed. They'll probably get put on the slate or put on underdog, like maybe an hour or two kickoff. But just going over what they have right now, they have everything in favor of the New Orleans Saints on this slate. They got Carr with over, under, higher, lower, however you want to go about it. 232.5 passing yards, rush for 3.5 yards, pass attempts over under 37.5, 20.5 completions, 238.5 passing and rushing yards, 3.5 sacks taken, 10.5 wait, what is that? 15.5 fantasy points. With Derek Carr, I would probably just he did go over 37.5 pass attempts the last two games, so you might want to look into that. You could look into the 3.5 rushing yards. You could even look at the passing yards, over 232.5 passing yards. The running back, they got two running backs, Tony and Kendre Miller. I don't know how many times they're gonna run a ball, but if I'm betting on this game, which I'm not, I don't like what they have, I would probably bet on over 1.5 receptions from Kendre Miller. I'll probably pick the kicker, Blake Group, with over 5.5 kicking points, or add 2 extra points. And then you got Chris Olave. You could go with over 5 receptions, or you could go over receiving yards. And you could go targets, because Derek Carr is throwing a ball quite a bit to that guy, and he's been targeted over 8 times in like the last 2 games. I think last game he had like 13 targets, and the game before that he had 10. So you could look into that. Rashid Shaheed, I think he'll have over 40 yards receiving. Michael Thomas, No, and you could go with the fantasy points on Michael Thomas with 10, or you could go with receiving yards with 52. and a half over under on that. But it seems like they just keep on disrespecting Jordan Love. They got him at 209 and a half passing yards. You could roll with the 13 and a half rushing yards. I don't know about rushing attempts. Pass attempts over 31 and a half. I highly doubt that. I don't think he will throw over 31 and a half passing attempts because he's been lower. He was low the first game, and the second game he was even lower. So be careful with that. They got point and a half interceptions, meaning he probably throw one pick. Passing and receive in rushing yards is 228. I don't know if I want to touch that. Sacks taken, they got at 2.5. You could probably look into that. And fantasy points, they got him at 11.5. So that's kind of low for Jordan Love. Anders Carlson. I don't think he's going to get over the 6.5 kicking points. That depends if Matt LaFleur is going to allow him to kick 50-yard field goals in this game. So if Matt LaFleur is going to allow Anders Carlson to kick 50-yard field goals in this game, then you could probably go with over on the kicking points. The 2 extra points, will we score? You know what I'm saying? That's one of the biggest things. Can we get the ball down the field? And I know people going to say, oh, well, Jordan Love, he threw 3 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of the season. Will that happen in this game? Because the Saints only gave up one touchdown so far this year. And majority of the time they forcing teams to kick field goals and locking down in the red zone. So be careful with the Anders Carlson over-under. If anything, you know, if the Packers could move the ball, if we could have some positive drives where we could get into, you know, field goal range to kick field goals for Anders Carlson, then you could tease it a little bit. You could look into that. But like I said, it all depends of how the Packers move the ball down the field and if they will kick a field goal. Because I don't know, man. Matt LaFleur should have let Anders Carlson kick the field goal, the 56-yard field goal last week when we played the Falcons. And, you know, we probably win that game by a few points. So I think, you know, if I was interested in making a slip for this game, I would probably consider Anders Carlson on the kicking points, just because I know Matt LaFleur is not going to want to waste drives again. So I think it'd be in his best interest that if we get into field goal range, that Matt LaFleur will let Anders Carlson kick the ball. So, you know, that's up for y'all to make an assessment on your own. But if I was to put a slip together, I would probably go with Jordan Love over 13.5 rushing yards. And then they got some defensive picks on here too, you know, tackles and assists. I didn't really want to get into any of that. But yeah, I will go with Jordan Love over 13.5 rushing yards. I would probably go with Rashid Shaheed over 3 receptions. Chris Olave, I would probably go with the over on the targets or the over on the receptions. I would probably go under on the receiving yards. I don't know how, or maybe over on the receiving yards. You know, the Packers really haven't given up a lot of receiving yards to opposing teams' receivers. I think the most we've given up so far is probably to Drake London from the Atlanta Falcons. I think he had like 60-something receiving yards. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Chris Olave might get the 65 receiving yards. So be careful on that. Yeah. Jordan Love 13.5 rushing yards. Rashid Shaheed over 3 receptions. And then I will probably go with Blake Group, the kicker, with over 5.5 kicking points. And, you could run with Jawan Johnson over 30 receiving yards or under 30 receiving yards. And you could go with Derek Carr with over 3.5 rushing yards. And yeah, everything else, man, be careful what slips you putting together, and remember to always bet responsibly. You know what I'm saying? It's only week 3. Don't spend all your money gambling so early in the NFL football season. You kind of want to wait until you see how these teams build their identity week to week, and you make an assessment on how much you're gonna bet from that point on. But just it's early, bet light, don't go a little overboard. And yeah, man, hopefully the Packers can win this game. If you watch MTC last night when me and Bernard went live, we both picked the Saints to win this game. So, hopefully the Packers can prove us wrong today, and we can put another W up on the winner in the winner column. You know what I'm saying? It's important that the Green Bay Packers get back into the winning circle, so we can take over this division. So with that being said, once again, Jordan Love, 13.5 rushing yards. Rashid Shaheed, over 3 receptions, over 40 yards, over 40.5 receiving yards. You could go with that too. Or you could go with the fantasy points with him. Blake Group, the kicker, over 5.5 kicking points. And Derek Carr, you could probably roll with Derek Carr, Chris Olave, over 5 receptions, and Derek Carr over 3.5 rushing yards. Or you can go with the sacks taken. I think you'll probably get sacked like 3 or 4 times. So, make an assessment, look at the game slips, make the right decisions. Remember that all of these numbers and yards and things are subject to change up to the time of kickoff, and while the game is being played live, they have live betting. So, be careful with that as well. This is your man, KHTV, King Howie. Thank you guys for stopping by the G Spot, where we try to help y'all make some money, man. You know what I'm saying? So gamble at your own risk, and always remember to have fun, man, while you're doing it. So with that being said, man, I am out of here. Thank y'all for stopping by the G Spot, and we'll be back next Thursday Night Football. I'll try to make a video for that, for the G Spot. I'll probably drop that Wednesday. So be looking forward to that. I don't know if me and Bernard will be able to do an MTC leading up to the Thursday Night Football game, but we will recap it probably sometime next weekend. So yeah, with that being said, man, thank y'all, and I am out of here.